Hello, this is Joe Trahan, welcoming you to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooten Foundation, whose mission is to enlighten the world to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances. As the national leader on this subject, they communicate their educational messages through various methods, including this podcast. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the All Me podcast. This is Amy Wagner, Director of Marketing and Development for the Taylor Hooten Foundation, and today I will be your host. Most people are surprised, even shocked, to learn that not only are adolescent females using appearance and performance-enhancing substances, but they are also the fastest growing user group. In addition to our education and awareness programs, here at the Taylor Hooten Foundation, we love to highlight and celebrate those athletes who choose to live and compete appearance and performance enhancing substance free while still performing at the highest levels. These athletes are part of our All Me League, and there isn't a better role model for young girls than Mandy Marquardt, a full-time track cyclist for the USA Cycling National Team and Team Novo Nordisk, a global all-diabetes professional cycling team, where she is the sole female member. Mandy inspires, educates, and empowers people affected by type 1 diabetes all over the world. We are so proud that she was one of the very first female athletes to step up and join our All Me League. She is the ultimate example of girl power. Hello, Mandy, and welcome to the All Me podcast. Not only are we so happy to have you as our guest today, but it is such an honor to have you as one of our female All Me League Advisory Board members.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's a really cool opportunity.
You are very welcome. If it's okay with you, I'd love to just dive right in and let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Florida, but I was born in Mannheim, Germany, and I moved to Florida when I was 6 years old because my dad is actually a German citizen. So I'm a dual citizen and my mom's from Florida. And she wanted to go back to Florida to be with family. And it was just a good time in my family's lives. And we picked up and moved.
That is neat that you got to experience both Germany and the United States as a youngster. When and how did you discover your love of cycling?
So I grew up swimming, running, doing triathlons. Well, I really was interested in doing a triathlon. They're really popular in Florida. And I was playing tennis too, and I was kind of burnt out from tennis. I actually wanted to be a professional tennis player, but played for 5 years, swam for 5 years. But I got a stress fracture in my foot, and I was like, I am way too young, about 10 years old, to get injured. And so I was like, it wasn't anything on my parents. I always just loved being outside, and they were just really supportive of getting me involved in any sport and anything I wanted to do. My dad, being from Germany, is really familiar with the world of track cycling and Googled the velodrome. And since it was 10 years old, it was just really better for me to be on a velodrome rather than racing or riding my bike on the road, and just because of traffic. So I got linked up there at the Ryan Piccolo Velodrome in South Florida in Cooper City and started to just love track cycling. And I did some triathlons for a couple of years. So that was just a really cool opportunity, and something always just drew me back to cycling specifically. And I just always loved it.
And at what age did you start competing?
Well, I started cycling. Well, I learned how to ride a bike when I was younger, but I really started competitively cycling when I was 10. And I knew right there, this was so much fun. So basically 6 months later, the following summer, I competed at my first junior nationals, which is the 10 through 12 age group. And it was on the road and the track. And I won 2 national championships already. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm pretty good at this. This is kind of fun, racing at the national level. And my parents and I drove from Florida to Texas to compete at nationals. So it was kind of a cool adventure too, to just see so much. And when I was racing my bike, I was out somewhere racing, and then I'd come back and pass them, and then I'd be back again. So it was just kind of neat that it wasn't just like a sport like swimming or tennis where I was just in one place. I just got to see more, and that was really exciting to me.
How exciting that you had such immediate success, especially in something that you loved.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. I was like, okay, maybe I'm good at this. But I was like, all right, I'm still young, and I just really wanted to get involved in other stuff too. So I was doing triathlons and track and field and cross country. I thought that was just really important to have different things going on.
So speaking of the track sprint cycling, can you tell us a little bit about that? Some of our listeners may not be as familiar.
Yeah, track cycling is riding my bike, which is a fixed gear bike, on a steeply banked oval track. And it's about 45 degrees. So I'm riding a bike with no brakes on 45 degrees. And it's really fast, really quick, huge adrenaline rush. I just absolutely love it. Compared to road cycling, there's obviously more variables, but with the track, it's usually 250 meters. There are tracks also that are 333 meters. There aren't too many in the US, but I think it's just really important that a lot of people are aware of the sport because it is such an adrenaline rush and so much fun. And a lot of people are not too sure how to get involved. And I think it's just, I learned how to ride on somebody else's bike. And so I think that was just a really important turning point, that this sport is so expensive, but yeah, it's important to make those connections and have those resources in the sport too, to really dig deep and really just know that it was the right fit for me. And I couldn't have done it without a lot of the role models when I was younger and who helped me. It's a really fun sport.
It sounds it. So tell me, how fast do you go?
45 to 50 miles an hour. We have a motorcycle too that we chase. We're reaching speeds up to 50 miles an hour. The motorcycle is there on the track for us because it leads us out. So I'm a sprinter on the velodrome. So all of my training is pretty much 10 to 30 seconds. I come back in, rest, kind of similar to track and field. I'm a sprinter on a bike. And so I train about 30 hours a week, 2-3 days a week in the gym, a lot of double sessions. Yeah, my work's pretty specific, but it's important too that I'm going through an entire sprint tournament in one day. I could race up to 12 times. And that's a lot too, so I'm managing my type 1 diabetes on top of all that. Yeah, just trying to be the best athlete that I can be and just really enjoying the entire process.
Wow. Yes. So going 45 to 50 miles per hour with no brakes. Just talk to us about how dangerous that is.
It can be dangerous. Yeah, there's obviously my equipment has to be in good condition. I can't race on bad tires. They're actually tubular, so they're glued on. It's safer, if you crash or you have a flat, it's not just going to roll off and you're not just going to fall off the track. So everything from equipment to just bike handling, just knowing the track. And I mean, I'm not crashing and training. The only time I think it would be dangerous is when, I'm racing. You never know. There could be someone that kind of could cut you off, basically, kind of chop your front wheel, or you can make contact. But it's also just, lots of experience in learning how to handle your bike and be aware and just have good awareness.
Yes. Well, I can certainly see how it would be an adrenaline rush for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned at the age of 16 that you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Would you share with our listeners about what your personal journey, training, and competing with type 1 diabetes has been like?
It's been challenging for sure. If I go back, I was an athlete before I was diagnosed with type 1, and I was diagnosed when I was 16. I was actually living in Germany at the time. Again, I was 15 when I moved back. My parents had split, so I just really wanted to get that opportunity to race in Europe, just to kind of get that exposure racing. Yeah, I did some routine testing there, some Vo2 Max testing, and I was diagnosed then at the hospital because I had to go right from the testing center right to the hospital. And I was there then for 2 weeks. They were doing all this testing and seeing how my organs were functioning. And I never really had any symptoms just because I was always an athlete and really active. I just thought, oh, maybe I'm tired. I'm just thirsty. Those are all common symptoms of weight loss, or just, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together, and I wasn't really expecting it. And I was just really shocked because I was like, I'm an athlete and why would I have diabetes? But that's when I, started to understand there's 2 different types. There's type 1 and type 2. So with type 1 diabetes, my pancreas does not function at all. So I have to give myself the insulin. So it was just learning then how to first take care of what I had, this new chronic condition in my life, and how am I going to be a bike racer again? And it was really just taking step by step and just learning to love the sport again. Also a doctor at the hospital told me that I would never be able to race at a high level. And that was pretty difficult to hear just because, I was an athlete my entire life, and knowing that I wanted to compete, whether it was for Germany or go back to America to race, I just thought, having diabetes would just limit me. And I believed him then and there. But after talking to my dad and seeing an endocrinologist and just learning to like love the bike again, I said, maybe this is possible. And then I came across, which is now Team Novo Nordisk. It's an all type 1 professional cycling team. So it's the world's first all diabetes professional cycling team. And that was pretty eye-opening because then I knew that I wasn't alone.
That's wonderful. And so glad that you overcame that and have been very successful, which we'll talk a little bit later, that you have performed very highly as a cyclist.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. So what would you say has been your greatest challenge that you've had to overcome training with type 1 diabetes?
Just all the variables, like learning how to manage stress, because cortisol levels go up, my blood sugars go up. It's just learning how to understand all those variables, and not every person with type 1 diabetes is different, but just to have an open mind. And it's really taught me how to be disciplined at a really young age. And, when I meet kids with type 1 diabetes too, I see them and they grow up really fast. And I think it's also learning to have that balance of, still being a kid and embracing having, those treats once in a while, but knowing kind of in moderation what you're able to eat and how that will affect your blood sugars. And just, I've learned just through just trial and error, working closely with an endocrinologist, what works for me, what foods don't. As an athlete, I'm always thinking of like, what am I doing, how that's going to affect me? But then I have type 1 diabetes on top of that. It's definitely challenging, but it just takes a lot of discipline. And, obviously too, having the resources to manage my diabetes, like a continuous glucose monitor, definitely being prepared for long journeys on the road with all my medication. It's kind of like I'm a walking pharmacy, but I think it's just important to understand that I have type 1 diabetes and I'm taking the medication that I need. And I'm still able to perform at my best. And it's definitely never been, some people say, oh, is it an advantage? I'm like, it's definitely not an advantage because my blood sugars fluctuate so much and that actually affects my recovery. So, it's just taken a long time for me to understand those variables. And I mean, every day can be different too. I mean, traveling, what I eat, and a lot of things. So I know it's a long answer, but it's definitely hasn't stopped me. So
no, it hasn't, and completely understandable. There's so many variables, including nutrition, as you mentioned. Can you talk a little bit about the role that nutrition has played?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely am very fortunate to have a nutritional sponsorship from Clean Athlete. I'm really big on looking for definitely nutritional products that are NSF certified for sport, that are clean, that I trust. And so I definitely take supplements to aid, with recovery and just with traveling. It's just easier to, to have a whey protein shake. But I'm still always on top of my nutrition. I just also just like vitamins and stuff, like the day-to-day things. And I just think that's helped me stay accountable and also be able to recover and perform and race at the top level.
So walk us through a day when you're competing. How do you prepare yourself? Do you have any specific meals that you like to eat the day of competition?
Yeah, really important for me to start off with a good breakfast. So I'm, pretty routine with what I eat because I know what affects my blood sugars. And I've kind of gotten to this kick with oatmeal, Clean Athlete whey protein, vanilla specifically. I like that a lot. And do almond milk and some fruit on top. And those are all things that I can travel with, or, dried fruit. So I can get pretty creative, and half of my bag when I travel is food.
So March is National Nutrition Month, and the theme for 2020 is Eat Right, Bite by Bite. Do you have a favorite nutrition tip that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's just really important to incorporate good protein, carbs, and fats, never to go to one of these fad diets or, take out carbs fully, because you need carbs in order for the protein to be digested and work. And so I think it's just important to have good boundaries and moderation. I still have a treat here and there, but I'm able to put it away. And I think that's, good discipline to have. And yeah, I've found eating frequently throughout the day, like good protein here and there, but never as a meal replacement. I still make sure it has, obviously also helps my blood sugar stay consistent throughout the day. And even with someone that doesn't have diabetes, it's important for them to have that energy and have good blood sugar levels throughout the day. So just consistency is really key.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Earlier, we had talked, you had mentioned about Team Novo Nordisk. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that team? And I know you mentioned that one of the things is it's made you feel not as alone as you're competing with type 1 diabetes. Can you talk to us a little bit more about your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So Team Novo Nordisk is the world's first all diabetes professional cycling team. And I'm the only female professional cyclist on the team. And my other teammates are male riders who race on the road, and they race all over the world. And we are all racing with type 1 diabetes, and it's pretty cool. It's like one big family. I mean, I've been on the team since 2010, and they've supported me 100%. Really thankful for them. I raced on the road, and then when I made the switch over to just track sprinting, which is really specific, I wasn't racing on the road as much, and they've stuck by me and supported me 100%. And they're an incredible team. They do so much for the community. I've done talks with schools, and I've met a lot of young kids with type 1 diabetes, and you just see them light up when they meet us, and they just can't believe that we're racing our bike and doing what we love. When I'm racing my USA kit, I see kids that come to these races because of Team Novo Nordisk, and at a World Cup, they're there to support me and the team. And it's just really cool to see how the diabetes community is so connected and that we're all there for each other. And I'm just really, really thankful that, I get to race for them, and I'm proud to race for Team Novo Nordisk.
It is so exciting to hear just about how you are inspiring others around the world. What a special team. So how many races have you competed in?
How many races have I competed? Oh, wow. I don't know. I've lost count. I've never really kept track of that. I graduated from Penn State Lehigh Valley with a degree in business management and marketing in 2014. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on my cycling career. And then in 2014, in the fall, I decided that I got invited to race my first World Cup. And that was pretty eye-opening. I've never really raced at that type of international level, especially in sprinting when I just started, where sprinting and endurance cycling is so different, because in endurance cycling, races are typically longer, and then sprint cycling, they're a lot shorter. And so it's everything from explosive strength to strength endurance. It's a kind of combination of everything. And that takes so many years to build. And really this year is when I started to really kind of fine tune that and really start to reach, I guess you could say my peak. I could still race until about 32. I'm 28 right now. Yeah, it takes many years to develop.
So safe to say lots of races.
Lots of races, yeah.
So of all the races, which one has been your favorite and why?
That's a tough one. I guess most recently, when I was racing the World Cup in Minsk, that was pretty eye-opening. I was fourth there, and I didn't qualify the best. I qualified 13th from 38 girls. And then I worked my way through the sprint rounds, because you do a 200-meter qualification, and that seeds you in the sprint tournament. So I qualified 13th, and then usually it's kind of like March Madness, that you're then paired up with somebody else and you're racing through the tournament. And if you lose, then you're out of the tournament. So there's a lot, mentally, physically, you just got to be really on. That day, I was on, and I beat Olympic medalist, and then I raced another Olympic bronze medalist in the sprint in the quarterfinals, and I won those two rides, and I went to the semifinals. And by then I was starting to really feel it. It was a long day, and I've never gotten that deep into the sprint rounds at that level. It just takes lots of years. So I just right there, I was like, I'm going to give it everything I have. But yeah, I was hurting, and it was a lot of fun though, but definitely was hoping for a medal. But I know everything's just a progression in the sport too. And sometimes you're just going to have performances that, aren't the best, but like Canada, I was sixth, even though it wasn't my best performance, it was definitely a result that I'm proud of. And, all my races go towards Olympic qualification. It's a 2-year process, and a lot goes into it. And I'd say, I'm proud of Minsk because I had some hard rides against some Olympic riders. So, and that was a really eye-opening day. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yes, well, here at the Taylor Hooten Foundation, we are super impressed and very proud of you and all that you have accomplished.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I've been involved with you guys for so long, now a couple years, and I just love what you guys are doing too, and just spreading all the positivity and spreading awareness as well. So I'm proud to advocate and be on board with you guys as I'm reaching my dreams.
Aw, thank you. Well, I'd love to just kind of highlight some of your achievements for our listeners. You're a member of the USA Cycling National Team. You're an 18-time U.S. national champion. You hold 2 U.S. national track records. You have 10 UCI track career wins. You are a 5-time Pan American Championship track medalist with 2 silver and 3 bronze medals, and are a 2017 Pan American Championship champion. You've been a World Cup member since 2014 with, as you mentioned, a recent 6th place finish in Milton, Canada. You are a 2018 and 2019 World Championships team member, and your current world ranking is number 14 out of 357 riders. Wow, that is so impressive, Mandy.
Thank you. When you say that, I was like, oh, it's a lot of work.
Yes, and what is even more impressive is you accomplished every bit of it, all me, without the use of appearance and performance enhancing substances. Were there ever any pressures to use these substances?
No, I've never encountered that. I think with me, having type 1 diabetes and always being really transparent and open about my diabetes and, to my coaches or teammates. Yeah, I've never encountered a situation where I was uncomfortable or pressured with something. And I know cycling doesn't have the greatest rep, and I'm sure that there may be people in my sport, internationally competing possibly with drugs. I can't say, I don't know, but there's always going to be that person or those people. But I think it's just important to know that things take time, and I've proven that to myself. I mean, my first World Cup was 2014 and I sucked. Like, I did not do good. I was almost qualifying in the bottom, and now I'm qualifying and finishing in the top 5 or top 10 now. And it's taken me 4 years to do that, and it just takes longer. And, especially with type 1 diabetes, there's just a lot of discipline that goes into it. So I think if you really believe in something and you're true to yourself and understand that things take work and time, then it is possible. All me PED free, and I stand by that.
Well, you were actually one of the very first females to step forward and be part of our All Me advisory board.
Oh, cool.
Yes, talk to us about what All Me means to you.
To be 100% true to yourself, to not ever be pressured by outside expectations. I mean, I know that whether you're just competing locally or internationally or just exercising, it's just being 100% true to yourself, why you do what you do. And I love what I do, and this is my full-time job, and that I get to do this for a living. Like, I'm absolutely loving every moment of it. And I do wish and hope that more people will be on board, the All Me train, and to especially females. I think it's important to have role models. When I was younger, I didn't have that many women to look up to, especially in the sport, because in Florida there are just a lot of male cyclists around and there weren't as many female cyclists. So I just think it's important as athletes to continue being that driving force, and especially females, to let the younger generation know and be that example that it's possible. And even though things take a long time, and they take time, you just have to be true to yourself.
Yes, and especially since you have expressed your love for cycling, why is living and competing All Me so important to sports and cycling?
I think it's so important in the sport of track cycling. I mean, especially just cycling, because like I said, it doesn't have the greatest reputation, but it is possible. Cycling is, it's not just a lower body, it's an upper body. I mean, a lot of time goes into this. My training, 30 hours a week in the gym, on the track, traveling. I just think knowing for myself that I've put all this hard work in with my nutrition and my training and, sports psychology and just every detail that I think of, that I can think of, that I put into it. I know that I did that 100% clean, and I want to be able to just say that it's possible, and to show and prove that it is possible. And that's what I'm doing. And I want to finish my career someday and be like, I did that without using any drugs. And I'm proud of that. And I hope more people will be on board with that because, if I'm going to the Olympics and I'm competing against the world's best, I know that I did that clean. And that would be the best feeling ever.
And as an athlete who has chosen to live and compete all me, how do you feel and what are your thoughts when you learn that another athlete has tested positive for performance enhancing substances?
I just feel like they try to take the easy way. I'm frustrated with it, but it's like, good. I'm glad they were caught. It's kind of one of those things, like, then you start to question, like, how authentic were they? Even if it's just one drug test in the past and then they've started to compete again, you kind of question, like, are they actually really still, performing clean, or are they, you start to speculate and question. I think once somebody has a red flag on them, that will always be with them. And I just think, I'm sure people can make mistakes and grow from them. But, I just think if you're an athlete, like, really to your core, you're going to do that with 100% clean, honest. And it's just way more fulfilling that way.
And you have many fans, both athletes and non-athletes, who look up to you as a role model that you inspire each day. Is there one message that you can send them about living and competing without the use of appearance and performing enhancing substances?
Yeah, definitely. I always say dream big and follow your heart. Doing this, what I do every day. I have setbacks here and there, but I just have to continue pushing and knowing that, that there are things that are just preparing me for the next thing, the next goal, the next race. Whatever I learn in my life with sport will just translate over to my career someday. So I think just really appreciating everything that you're going through and understanding that all that has value and is just preparing you for something even bigger.
That is so wonderful. And again, we thank you so much for serving on our All Me advisory board so that you can inspire so many other young athletes.
Thank you. It's definitely been an honor and definitely looking forward to growing and spreading that message of living All Me PED free even more. Yeah, I thank you for taking the time and thanks so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. So before we close, what's next and long term for you?
What is next? Well, what I know is that I am going to Poland for a training camp that I've organized for myself because it's important for me to get on the time zone. I have the World Championships at the end of February in Berlin, and my boyfriend will be going with me, which is huge. It's my support system. Yeah, boyfriend, mechanic, everything. I mean, he's stood by me, this entire time. He used to race too, so he totally gets it. And I'm excited then to see my dad and race at the track in Berlin that I did my first German nationals at when I was 15 before I was diagnosed. So it's just going to be pretty emotional, but positive. And yet, just there's this fire in me to just do better and know that this is like the last race before any decisions are made with Olympic qualification. So just knowing that this is my last race definitely makes me nervous, but also really excited because I'm just going to give it everything that I got. Then it's no longer up to me, to make any decisions. We qualify as a nation and then USA Cycling selects riders. So it's just enjoying the process. And, I've been asked, like, what if you don't make it? Well, it would totally hurt, but I could say that I've done everything that I could. Will I go for another Olympic cycle? I don't know, but I just know that I'm enjoying it every day.
We'll know that we are certainly cheering for you and wish you all the best with that.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Of course, you're welcome. So we just want to wrap up. We throw some curveball questions at each of our guests just for a little fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you've been races all around the world. So you've traveled a lot. Do you have a favorite travel destination?
Yeah, actually, yes. Right when you asked that, I was thinking of two, like one without a bike and one with a bike.
Okay, you tell us both.
Okay. Well, the first one without a bike was in Peru. I went for a short-term study abroad with Penn State Lehigh Valley. So I'm a business major, and we visited a university in Lima, and then we saw Machu Picchu. So it was just such a cool experience, and to travel without a bike is just always so easy because I don't have to schlep this like massive 70-pound bike box around. It was just a little suitcase, and I got to travel with 20 of my classmates, and it was just a really cool experience. And then my favorite adventure with my bike was in Rwanda in Africa, near the Congo. Really small country, and it's actually known for the land of 1,000 hills. And I was there with it was former Team Type 1, so now we're Team Novo Nordisk. So before then it's Team Type 1, but it's now the sister organization of Team Novo Nordisk, which is the Team Type 1 Foundation. That was the racing team before, just to be clear. But the Team Type 1 Foundation, so the men's pro team was racing the Tour of Rwanda, and then I got to ride the course with a couple other teammates. We weren't racing, we were just there riding the course and visiting hospitals and other people living with diabetes. It was pretty eye-opening, just because, diabetes isn't the easiest, especially then in a poor country like Rwanda, where you have to refrigerate insulin and not everybody has those resources available to them. And Team Type 1 is still very active over there in Rwanda. They were just there and provided test strips and glucose monitors, and they've worked really hard with the Ministry of Health there to make it more possible so people with diabetes can extend their life and live healthy. And just being a part of that in 2011 was just really eye-opening, and I got to see firsthand what that was all about. And I'm like, my bike took me to all those really cool places, but yeah, I'm just getting to see the world on my bike. And that was definitely a huge highlight because I felt like that was the biggest impact right then and there, wearing that kit and riding in Rwanda, but then, racing all over the world and representing Team Novo Nordisk and Team Type 1 and the US. I stand by that all. And it's a pretty cool journey where the bike has taken me.
Yes, all special experiences for sure. And Mandy, obviously, you are a true real-life superhero.
Thanks.
But if you could be any other superhero, who would it be?
You got me stumped there. I don't know, like a character, like Wonder Woman?
Sure. Any you can choose, or a superpower.
Yeah. Well, I have girl power, the abbreviations on my left, behind my left ankle. Yeah, I just always, girl power. So I think Wonder Woman, or just any strong female in the sport or in business, paving the way to just have a voice and to do what you love. Yeah, I think any female really, or any person going after something they love that's difficult and it's been an obstacle, it just is always like a superhero moment to me, because everyone, I think, is one in their own way.
I love that, and we love having you as an All Me League Advisory Board member. Thank you so much again for your time, Mandy.
Thank you so much, and I hope more people will try the sport of track cycling. Maybe I know you have highlighted a lot of baseball players and other athletes, and I know there's another advisory board member. She has Type 1. She's a long jump, I believe. Katie?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe we can all get together and try each other's sports someday and just kind of share that journey.
Yes, we should have an All Me League Advisory Board member reunion. That would be awesome.
That would be super cool.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for listening to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooten Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading a national campaign to enlighten people to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances and inspiring people to live and compete without the use of these substances. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and tune in to our next episode.